So, the New Revised Standard Version, what does it say? Let's see. Luke 23, oops, I've gone too far. Luke 23, 22 you said? Yeah. 22 verse 16, okay. So, in the New Revised Standard Version, if I can have your attention for a moment, the passage in question was about Luke chapter 22. Jesus is before the council, and in verse number 67, they say to him, "If you are the Messiah, tell us." He replied, "If I tell you, you will not believe. And if I question you, you will not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the power of God." And all of them asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" He said to them, "You say that I am." Then they said, "What further testimony do we need? We have heard it ourselves from his own lips." So it looks like he's saying one thing and they're understanding the opposite. He said, "You said that I am," and they're saying, we heard it from his own lips. So this fits the general character of the narrative, showing that the Jewish opponents of Jesus at the time, and I say the opponents of Jesus because he himself, as I pointed out, was Jewish, so his opponents were trying by any means possible to nail him on the cross. So he said, "You said that I am," and they said, "We heard it from his own lips."
Just
yes.
one question. So I often hear anytime you are referring to Bible, you ask, what version of Bible are you referring? What version of Bible are you referring? So I find it puzzling. Do you have so many different versions in there? Or why are you referring to what version of Bible? What version of Bible?
Yeah. Well, the answer to that has to bring in more complexity than perhaps you imagined. Because we have the situation where Jesus spoke the Aramaic language. And somebody already asked about translation from Hebrew to Greek. So these documents, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they're all written in Greek. So the Gospels are Greek. Jesus was speaking Aramaic. So already in the Gospels you have a translation from what Jesus said. But then further down, the Gospels are written in the Greek. And we don't have the actual handwritten manuscripts of the original writers, what scholars would call the autographed manuscripts. We have copies of copies of copies. We have many copies, and the copies do not all agree. So one has to piece together the available copies, not piece together, but compare them in order to reconstruct what would have been the original text as written by the authors themselves. And the reconstructions will vary slightly from one redactor to another. So you have the United Bible text, you have the Westcott and Hort text. So the Westcott and Hort text is followed basically by Jehovah's Witnesses. The Nestle-Allen text is followed by the United Bible Society, and this is more popular. But you can have different reconstructions. And the reconstruction does not affect the Bible as a whole, but only some particular passages in a very specific way. Often, a translation, a good one, such as the New International Version, will make footnotes referring to other readings. And it will point out that this passage here that we're translating as part of the Bible is missing from some ancient manuscripts. So you have the manuscripts compared with each other, and you can see that something is in many of them, but missing in some very important early ones. So do you include that or not? So somebody using his judgment, scholarly judgment, will say that's to be included. It looks very early and correct, so it should be included. Someone would say, no, the verse is missing from the early passages, and that means that it's a later edition, so we omit it, and so on. Or a variation in wording, so to be include this variation or that variation. So that's one issue. How do you, the reconstructed text that you're working with. And then, of course, you can have a variety of translations. You have the original text, written in Greek. Let's all agree that's the text. So then you can have a variety of translations of that particular text. But the translations are more complex than just simply translation, because behind the translation there is this reconstructed text that is a bit frilly on the edges. It's a basic text that most people agree on, but some passages could be read this way or that way, or maybe a verse or two can be omitted here or there, or added in another version. I think at some point we are going to have to close. The sandwiches are waiting, and then Tarek.
I think unfortunately we have to stop there. Thank you very much, Br Shabir, for your talk.
All right.
Just a reminder that